So everything fine? I cannot hear you. You are muted.
Let me unmute. Oh, now it will. It kept kicking me out. It kept throwing me out of the class. That was very weird.
You are host now. You can make me a co-host.
Yes. I can't see you. Oh, yes, I can. I can't. Okay, I must just quickly do this again. Participants, and then I can do that. Participants. There we go. I can make you co-host. Oh, no, it's really playing up now. Ah, there we go. All right. I think we're going to have fun with my computer today. Kept throwing me out just now. So let's just hope that we are live and going. Carol Sue's there. I know her well. And Kathy I've also had before. So will you let them in, James?
Sure.
Thanks. Hi, Carol Sue. Hi, Kathy. Nice to have you in class. Great to have you, Carol Sue, back again. Lovely to see you. Hi, Kathy. Very nice to have you in class. You're on mute at the moment. Oh, I can't hear you. I'm not quite sure why.
Okay.
There we go. Now I can hear you. Lovely to have you in class. Whereabouts are you from, Kathy?
I'm from Illinois in USA. I am Midwest, the southwestern Midwest.
Okay, so it's hot.
In the middle. I'm not Atlantic Ocean, I'm not Pacific Ocean. I don't have any oceans by me at all. We have a lot of cornfields and things like that.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. When I was in South Africa, that's where I was, right in the middle of South Africa. No oceans anywhere near. We were right in the middle as well. Now, living in Perth, Australia, I am on the coast. So I do have the sea now that I live here. Lovely to have you, Carol Sue. I don't know if you heard the yapping in the background, Carol Sue. The little dog had seen the Bandicoot, and she was complaining that the Bandicoot was in the garden. So I have a Bandicoot which comes in from the forest.
They need to learn how to share.
Oh, the older dog, the boy, although they're brother and sister and the same age, the boy is quite happy. He doesn't worry. It's just the little girl who gets terribly jealous of the Bandicoot in the garden.
What is a Bandicoot?
A Bandicoot is a beautiful little marsupial that belongs to the same family as the kangaroo, but it's the size of probably quite a large cat in size. And we had one, we've now got 3, and one has a baby in the pouch at the moment. So the pouch is kind of dragging on the ground when it's eating. So you will see, I think it's in one of my pictures that I have in my garden. But they come to feed, they take the seed from the bird feeder, they love the seed, and if there isn't enough seed, they'll go for the dog food. So that's why Lacey gets a little upset, because she thinks it might eat her food. But so it really is lovely. The birds here in Australia, as you'll see just now, are amazing, because of course we have the parrots flying free. So we have some of the most beautiful parrots appearing in our garden. My computer threw me out of the Zoom class 3 times before it started. So I just hope that we'll stay in class today. I'm not sure why my computer suddenly decided it didn't like it. But if I disappear, I am coming back. We have James here with us. He is my co-host. So he will keep you entertained while I find myself again if I have to. Hopefully, I won't have to find myself. But today, I really can't tell you what it might decide to do. But let's give it a start and see if it'll stay put. No, I'm not going to stay put. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to make this lot up. Oh, now we have This is very interesting. I'm getting all sorts of strange things happening here. Okay, let's do it like that. We'll work from the PowerPoint instead of from a presentation, because obviously it's decided it's not doing it. This is one of the birds we have in our garden. It's got a beautiful yellow ring around the neck, and it's called the Australian ring-necked parrot. It's a beautiful green color, 2 or 3 different shades of green with a bit of blue, bright yellow, and black. So it's got a very startling look to it. And the other day, the dogs came out while they were feeding, and boy, did the parrots give the dogs a hard time. They shouted at them. Since then, we've had our camera ready, but we haven't seen it happen again. Right, as you know, in Get Set Up, we learn from each other. So having your camera on is great. I know Carol Sue doesn't, but she interacts so much, and that is just fine. If you would like to get a copy of the recording, please contact help@getsetup.io. And those of you joining by live stream, get yourself a cup of coffee, and hope you'll enjoy the birds of both America and Australia. And we don't get paid for any products, but we don't discuss products in this class. Right, a little about me. Kathy I live in Perth, Australia. I moved here 3 years ago from South Africa, where I lived for 63 years. I've been an educator for 44 years, but here in Get Set Up, I just share my ideas. I don't educate anymore. It's much nicer. I enjoy creating and making things, including puzzles, and I've got a great love of animals. That's why I do the animal series. So let's begin. This is my garden. So welcome to my garden. As you can see, my garden is not very big. I have a little garden, but straight from my garden, it goes into a beautiful open park in front of us, and to the side, there's a little forest. So we have a lot, even though we're right in the middle of a suburb, they have forests as well as parks throughout every suburb. So it really is lovely. I think they call them reserves in Australia. They're not very big, but they're big enough to sustain animals, little animals, and so keeping nature going, because nature is very important in Australia. So this is my little garden where I have the vision, and my husband has the green fingers and does all the hard work and the talking to the plants, and I just enjoy my garden. I'll help to plant and decide what we're doing, and as you can see, we have a gnome garden, and so the gnome welcomes you to my garden. You can see above the arch that we've put in, I've put a big bell of seed, and that lasts about a week, because within 3 minutes of it being put up, we have parrots. They just appear from nowhere. So this is the ringneck that you're looking at now. These are busy helping themselves to the bell, what's left of the bell, and they take turns. Sometimes they both try and get on top, and then it swings quite wildly, and they sort of have to try and get their balance. And so usually one sits on top while the other one eats, and then they take turns. But if one takes too long, then the other one will definitely come and help to demolish the seed that we have there. So what sort of birds do you have in your gardens? Kathy?
We have cardinals, red cardinals.
Oh, those are beautiful.
The males are darker red. The females are more of a brownish red. And I've started a container garden this year with peppers in it. And I was told that if you feed the birds and the squirrels, then they'll leave your garden alone. So that's what I've been doing. And I feed them on the other opposite side of the house, so that they're not looking at like, oh, well, here's some more stuff here, So I feed them on one side and I plant on another. So
Is it working?
Well, so far so good, but I have to feed them first thing in the morning, and because otherwise they get over by my garden, and I guess looking for food. So I hurry up and I feed them. I had bought wild bird seed, and they really like that. Although the squirrels would pick the corn and the seed and the sunflower seeds out. And so, and we have things like wrens, baby wrens, and robins, and the blackbirds. I guess they're like crows or whatever, but they kind of, their head is more like a metallic-y green.
Oh,
you look at them a certain way.
European starlings.
Those are starlings, Carol
Starlings.
Sue says.
Okay. Well, I have those too, but they're mean to the other birds. I mean, they want it all. They don't want to share nothing.
Yes. They're very, very mean.
Yeah, they are. And so what I try to do is, if I see them and they like more like, if I like the hard crust or the bread or something like that, I throw that farther away from the little ones, like the wrens and the sparrows and the little ones. I put like I sometimes I take like crackers, like saltines or something, and crunch them up and throw them out. And the little ones like that, where they can just get a little piece and fly off, where the big black ones don't bother them so much. And then if I can get to the store to buy the wild bird food, I buy that. If I can't, then I buy at the local store down the street. I buy a can of nuts, peanuts, and some sunflower seeds, and then I make my own mix, and then I throw that out for them. And the cardinals, I find, really like the sunflower seeds and the peanuts. So we have a little bit of a variety there, but and I really like, I know they're not birds, but they are, I guess. They're hummingbirds. I love the hummingbirds.
Oh,
I love to watch the hummingbirds. I had 2 feeders, and the squirrels broke the other one. They, I guess, batted it or something, and it flew off of the pole that I had it on, and they broke it up. And so I put the second one up closer to the house, and the squirrels stay in the back of the yard, which is good as long as they stay back there and they don't mess with my garden, because that's more towards the back of by my back door. But I love to watch the hummingbirds, and I change their nectar. I make their nectar from water and sugar, and I keep it in the refrigerator in a gallon jug, and then I change it out of the evening, because usually I've seen some recently right around dusk, and I was surprised because I didn't think that they fly when it gets dark, and I've seen them a couple of times now. And it was so funny because I don't normally change it in the middle of the afternoon, but I had seen that I hadn't changed it, and it was getting kind of cloudy. So I thought, well, I'm going to change it now while I still think of it, instead of waiting until tonight. So I came in and I emptied it and stuff, and I cleaned it all out and stuff. And then I went ahead and put some in, and they kept going up to where it was, like, okay, where's this at?
Oh, beautiful.
They were looking for it, and they was like, what the heck? Oh, we always get it here. What's going on here? So I had to hurry to get that out there. But then it was cold. And usually what I do is I change it at nighttime, so that in the morning sun gets it and it warms it up for them. So they were kind of like, after I had put it out there, they were like trying to get it, and it was like really cold, and they'd go in and then they'd come back out like jerked almost, It was funny to watch them, but I love to watch the hummingbirds. I think my very favorite. Those and the cardinals are my very favorite.
Kathy, won't you take some photos and send them to Get Set Up for me? What I'm doing is I'm creating a page of birds that the people who've been in class have in their gardens. And I want to, at the end, have a collage of all the birds that people have sent in. I've got 2 or 3 birds already. So it'd be absolutely awesome if you would send, and Carol Sue, the same goes for you. If you'll send in some of the birds that you have in your gardens as well, because then it's great. I want to build up this picture of the different ones around the world. And what do you have, Carol Sue?
Well, the thing is I live sort of kind of in a wooded, taken area. The other day I had seen a hawk with a large basically wingspan, and I was thinking about the other places that I have taken and lived in the area. Blue jays. Blue jays are very taken and mean birds also. And actually, the European starlings came to America by taking accident because they came on the ships, basically crossing to get to the Americas, and they ended up taken in around Central Park, and the species just basically took off. And that's how the European starlings ended up here. We have sparrows. What else? Woodpeckers. Woodpeckers, the red-headed basically woodpeckers. What else have I seen? Red-winged blackbirds.
Wow, nice.
What else? The sparrows. Mourning doves. And pigeons. Yeah. So the thing is, what I was taken amazed at the 2 parrots, the green ones that are in your garden. Those are really taken in big. They look like they're about 12, 13 inches as far as they're from their neck to their tail. The
Yeah,
base of their tail
they're a ruler. They are big. They're big birds. Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, they're not tiny birds at all.
No, I took it and thought they would be a little bit smaller, I thought they would be like the cockatoo size.
Yeah, I suppose they are maybe cockatoo or slightly bigger than cockatoo.
Yes, that's right.
No,
Yeah,
they cockatoo, definitely cockatoo size, if not slightly bigger than the cockatoo.
Do they make a lot of noise?
They've usually got quite a nice sound when they're making a sound, but when they shout at the dogs, they are quite raucous. They really opened their mouths and yelled at the dogs. We just stood at the front door with our mouths open because we'd never heard that before. Because the Bandicoot wasn't there, so we opened the door, and I actually opened it by accident. I didn't even see them up at the feeder. I was concentrating on giving something to the dogs, and so I opened the door to give whatever I was going to give to them, and they stepped out, not actually looking at the birds, looking at me because they wanted whatever was in my hand. And the next thing, there was this mighty yell from the bird feeder, and both the birds that were on the feeder had a lot to say about the fact the dogs had come out of the door. They weren't scared. We were standing in the doorway as well. They weren't scared of us. In fact, the other day, we were sitting on the veranda, or on the patio. We just took our dessert outside at lunchtime, and we were sitting there having a chat about what we'd done in the morning in our classes. The next thing, they arrived, and they were not at all perturbed. In fact, at one stage, they were less than a meter from us, because they came onto the second arch, and they were right next to us. And only when we stood up did they then fly away. But while we were sitting, they weren't perturbed that we were there. They could hear us talking. They could see us. They could see the dog sitting at our feet. They weren't worried at all. So they really are getting used to us, which is rather nice, the fact that they are getting used to us being there.
So there is a marsupial. It begins with a letter C, and the marsupial looks like it's smiling all the time. Do you know what name it is?
Yes, it doesn't begin with the letter C. It begins with the letter Q, actually. It's a quokka.
Oh, okay. big old smile on his face.
Absolutely. And they are only
and a little
found in
belly
Perth.
and a little belly button. You could take and see the baby looking out.
Yes, that's a quokka. That is a quokka. And
Are they in Perth?
yeah, they are only found in Perth. That's the only place in the world that they found.
Really?
They are found they found mainly on a little island just off Perth called Rottnest Island. And there are one or two on another little island very close by. And then one or two, a very small colony on the actual mainland, but they are on Rottnest Island. They are not frightened of people at all. They are the loveliest, cutest, and they smile all the time. Yeah,
they're beautiful.
That's a quokka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they really are gorgeous. And as I say, we have the bragging rights of having them, so we are very fortunate with that. All right, let's have a look. Is my computer going to allow me to have a look? Yes. Okay, here are just some of the different types of parrots that we have in the garden. Again, of course, our ringneck, but then we have these absolutely beautiful red-capped parrots. They've got a red cap on the top of them. They are green and blue and yellow. They're very, very simple, very, very similar to the rainbow lorikeet. And at times, I'm not too sure whether it's the lorikeet or if it's the red cap that are in the garden at different times, because they do look so alike. They really are very, very similar in looks. But these come and they are very, very keen on our bell. And that's the size of the bell on the day we put it up. And within 3 days, it's the way where it is with the green ones. And within 5 days, there's nothing left. And so we have to put up another bell. We put up a bell once a week for them, and away they go with their bells, but they really do enjoy the bell. And then in the base, we put the loose stuff for the little birds. And then every day when we're putting up for the little birds, we also sprinkle on the ground for the bandicoots as well.
Do you take and have any bird baths?
Yes, we've got three bird baths in our garden. In fact, if we go back here, yeah, there we are. Straight in front of you, there's the big tall bird bath. Right in the center of the picture is the tall bird bath. And then down below it it's hidden now behind the archway is one on the ground. And then just off the picture where the other black arch is, there's one outside my husband's window where he sits to do his lessons, so he can see them bathing there as well. So we actually have three bird baths, and then a small little bath quite near the gate for anything that wants to just come in the gate and have a drink and depart. So all in all, we have 4 different bird watering places, and the wagtail really dominates the standing up one because he believes that's his. And if anything else wants to come in while he's there, he will have a lot to say about them being there. He thinks it's his right to have it. We also have the black parrot. Now, the black parrots are mainly on the east coast, but there is a small colony here on the west coast. One of the problems with the black parrot is that when they nest in pairs, they like to nest in 100-year-old trees. They've got to have a really big thing. Now, there are not that many 100-year-old trees with people moving in, and although there's a lot of empty space where we are, that they are building more and more houses. So fortunately, leaving these little reserves all the way around, there are still old trees. And there obviously are some in our park, in our little forest or reserve, because we have the black-backed parrots here. And the black parrots, I should say, they love the bottle brush. They break off the heads of the bottle brush. They drink something and then they break it off. Kathy, you're on mute at the moment.
I'm
okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was typing something and I didn't want to interrupt you. I found that what I had to do is I have a bird bath, but the squirrels and those blackbirds are so mean to the other ones. I actually have some, I don't know what they're called. I think they're called overflow thing. I don't know what they're called, but they're in the plant thing where you put like your container pot inside.
Yes, yes.
All over. So I had some of those extra that were too small for the plant pots that I bought. And so what I do so that the wind doesn't like take them away and stuff, I put like a rock in the middle so that if the birds want to, the bigger birds and the squirrels want to sit on the rock and take a drink, they can. But I put that down on the rocks in the driveway because the little birds go up there too, depending upon where the other ones are. If the big blackbirds and squirrels go in the bird bath with the bird stand and stuff, then the little ones will go down by the rock. But I have to put 2 or 3 of them out there because, like I said, the squirrels and the blackbirds are so mean that they won't let the little birds get a drink or eat or anything. So I have them a couple of different places, and my neighbor says, why do you have these dishes here in the driveway? Because our driveways match up and I have them on my property. And she's like, why do you have those? And I was like, those are for the birds and the squirrels. And she's like, why do you feed them? And I said, because I have a garden and that's what I want to do. And she's like, well, I just think that you're wasting your money. And I was like, well, that's your opinion and that's fine, but just stay on your own side of the yard and we won't have to worry about this. Because we've already had this discussion with flowers because they had their property surveyed and it should have been grandfathered in because my plants have been in the same spot for 33 years. But instead of fighting them and taking them to court and all that and getting it grandfathered in and stuff, I just chose to remove my flowers. They gave me 3 days in the heat of the summer 2 years ago, and I couldn't find anybody to come and help me. And I dug up I had 81 feet of orange tiger lilies.
Oh, wow.
And it was so beautiful. And I could only remove about 3/4 of them. And then they decided that they were going to rip up the rest of it. And it just hurts my heart. And the police said, well, that's just flowers. And I'm like, no, it's not just flowers. They're my babies. I talk to my plants. And she's that same way. I just recently bought a butterfly bush. I've never had a butterfly bush before. And I was trying to decide on where to plant it. And in the meantime, it's blooming. It's still in the container I bought it in and it's blooming. So I decided to put it in a bigger pot. I'm planning on doing that tomorrow until I figure out if I'm going to put it in the ground. But I have to watch where I put it because they spray chemicals. And I don't like that. I mean, even if you're being a horse's patoot because you don't like flowers, don't do it on my property just to be a horse's patoot, And so I can't have everything in my backyard because I have a lot of my tiger lilies are in containers yet because I don't know where to go with them. And I've donated some to the local school because they have a meditation garden and they were asking anybody if they had any flowers. And I said, I have some beautiful orange tiger lilies. And I said, and they're well established. I've, had them for a long time and stuff. And they're very well trained and established. You can talk to them or, whatever. And so I had another lady who had been doing running for me because I haven't driven since my stroke, which was about 3 years ago now. And she came and she got this big container of tiger lilies and took it to the school. So I know they're doing well because mine out here that I planted, even the ones that are in containers yet, they are just, some of them are like 5 feet tall and the orange flowers are like the size of my hand, bloomed open. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm just, everything is exploding here. Everything. I had one hosta last year that I divided into 10 plants, and I gave 5 away, and I replanted 5, and they have taken over 30 feet of my back flower bed and 5 hosta plants, 30 feet. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Everything is exploding.
No, they love you and they know you love them. And so therefore they show their gratitude and they give you their flowers to say thank you for what you are doing for them. So I think that is awesome. Absolutely awesome.
I just love it. People say to me, don't you get lonely living by yourself? And I was like, only in the winter time. In the summertime, y'all can go do your own thing. Go out and go to the movies and go do whatever you want to do. I have a swing in my backyard. I have beautiful flowers. I have birds. I have squirrels. I have hummingbirds. I am happy in my little oasis. Just leave me be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I have a white arch similar to yours in the basement. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I could get that up, and where would I put that though?
I would see if you can do that, because that would be this arch had, I mean, our garden is very small, and yet, and the arch, I thought the arch was maybe going to be too big, but it's not. It's just fitted in so well with the garden, and the birds love it because you can put things on there for them as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And they use the ivy as well, but it can even be against a fence. Your arch can be near a fence. It can be as if you're going through. You don't have to necessarily even go through it. It can be there as if you're going to go through to something else.
Yeah,
so it could be like a perch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would make a wonderful thing. And as I say, we've got the ivy hanging, and they often land, then jump in the ivy, and then from the ivy go onto the bird feeder. So they use the ivy as a landing zone.
And also I have seeds of morning glories and moonflowers, and I used to grow them all the time. Now, a lot of people have said in other states in the US that they're perennials and they are annuals and they come back every year. But here in the Midwest, they don't come back. You have to replant them every year. But I have so many of those. And I have the seed pods. I know how to grow them. And I wanted to, but I didn't have any place to put them to grow up to. But then I happened to think, when I seen your arch, I thought, oh, I got that arch in the basement. So I could put that there and they could grow on in that.
Yeah, upcycle your arch and use it.
Good ideas for me.
Oh, well, that's awesome. That really makes me happy that you have found a purpose and a use for it. All right. Now, these are some of the smaller ones and bigger ones that we have in our garden. We get these beautiful little fairy wrens, and they come and they tap on the window. They spend hours tapping on our windows, and they are the most beautiful blue color. And our little woolly wagtail, he's been here since day one. And if we're out the back, he'll go out the back. And that's only where the garage is. There's a tiny little bit where we grow in the back. And he'll come and he'll sit on the roof and he'll yap at us. If we're out the front, he's definitely there. If he thinks something's not quite right, he'll shout. And we know that he's telling us either there's not enough food for somebody or whatever, but he will have a chat about everything. Even when we go for a walk in the forest, he'll follow us for quite a bit of the way before we go in. And then when we come out, he's usually hanging around just outside and flies back with us from tree to tree or bush to bush. He is too sweet. We also have the sulfur, sorry, not the sulfur, the honey eater, the New Holland one. He's got a yellow stripe on his wing. and they are in our garden a lot. They actually destroy the roses before the rose has opened. They burrow into it and take the nectar from inside the rose, and the rose has a really difficult time to open. So if we want roses, as soon as we see the bud has got to a reasonable size, we cut it straight away, and then we can use it as a beautiful rose in the house, because otherwise if he's got to it, then it gets destroyed terribly quickly. We also have what I used to call crows. They're called ravens here. And then the other day, for the first time, we had our first magpie in the garden. I wasn't sure what it was. It was a juvenile, because it's not as big as the others, but I used my Google Lens to check what it was, and lo and behold, it was a magpie that had also come and is sitting just close enough to go down and get himself a drink of water. So we really do have some amazing birds that come into our garden, and we are able to share them with others. And then in the forest, we then get they sometimes come into our garden, but we see them a lot in the reserve where we walk every day. And that, of course, is your rainbow loriket. And boy, is it a rainbow, blue and red and yellow and green. It's got all the colors on it. And they really are quite magnificent. And then, of course, your red-capped parrots. You also get what other ones do we get? We get the green one that's in there as well. We get our doves. And if we're lucky, and sometimes we are really lucky, we get the Kookaburra who comes into the garden. Now, if you haven't heard the sound of a Kookaburra, it is a sound that no other bird makes. And I'm going to try and get you to hear. I think I've solved my problem, because before you couldn't hear it, but let me see if I can get it right this time. Right. Oh, before I do that, I've got to go to, oopsie. Okay, I'm on that. Go here, go share screen, share sound, and optimize video clip. And let's see if we can do it. Right, let's hear. Can you hear it?
That's amazing. A bird that taken in size with that big voice.
It's got an amazing voice, and I can hear it when they come into the reserve, and my windows are open. I can hear them in there, and it comes straight into my office, and I can hear them all talking to each other. And even just one on its own, they make the most amazing noise, and it sounds like they're laughing from the bottom of their stomach. They are having this really good laugh at you. And so those are the Kookaburra that are indigenous to Australia. And we are very fortunate in having them come to visit us quite often in our little reserve. So we are really lucky to have them come and join us. So, right, where am I now? Now, the other birds that we have in the park, because we have a park in front of us and a forest next to us, so we really are very lucky in having what we've got. The first one, the pink one, it's pink, pink, pink in the front and gray on the back, and that is called a Gala. A Gala. He is one of the Cockatoos. You also get, unfortunately, they haven't got their crests up, but these whites are called the Sulfur crested cockatoo. And when they put their crest up, they really look stunning when they put up their crests. They are absolutely awesome when they do that. Then we also have beautiful different shades of green. I've forgotten the name of this particular one for the moment. I'll have to go and check it up again in my little book. And then you get your magpie. Now, the magpies are great. They don't worry about people most of the year. But when they have got their eggs, then they do. Or if they have got their little babies, you do have to be careful because they do come and go. They do attack people, and they go for anything shiny. So if you've got a shiny helmet, they'll go for the helmet, but they can also go for eyes. So if a magpie is coming towards you, just close your eyes or cover your eyes, because they don't see it as eyes, they see it as something shiny. Magpies like anything that shines, and so that makes the quite a dangerous bird at certain times of the year. But and they've got very sharp beaks, as you can see. That's why the one that was in our garden is sort of a gray color, because he's still a juvenile. But sometimes there will be up to 50 of these sulfur crested cockatoos on the grass eating, usually at about 5 in the afternoon, and they'll be there for 2 days, and then you don't see them for a month, and then they'll be back for about 2 days. So they move from place to place to place, getting what they need, and then they leave that grass and that soil so that all the earthworms will now regenerate, and then they come back and then they have a go at the next lot. So they are incredibly intelligent birds. But as I say, you can find up to 50 at a time, all busy eating together. It is quite amazing. And the Gala as well, they also collect in huge groups, flocks of them, and then they'll perch in a tree. Right next to the school where my grandchildren used to go was a flock of Gala, and at night, the boughs of the trees would actually bend because of the amount of weight from all the different ones. And then early in the morning, you'd hear them very clearly as they called. If we go for a walk in the early afternoon, we sort of half an hour before sunset type thing, then the forest is alive. You hear so many different bird songs and different ones calling to each other, and they fly across the path in front of you, because there are both concrete paths and woodland paths, and depending on where we're walking, it doesn't really matter. They fly past you this side, and they wait until you're almost on top of them, and then they'll move on and fly away. But if the hawk is in the area and you hear it mew, there isn't one sound. Every bird goes absolutely dead still, and they don't make a sound until the hawk has gone. Once the hawk's gone, then they start to chirp again. But while the hawk is in the area, not one of the birds makes a sound. It's like a ghost town. You can have heard them all chirping, and then you hear them mew, and then it's a ghost town. And you'll continue your walk. There won't be a single sound there. And then if you wait long enough and they think that the hawk has gone, or they hear the mew going, when it mews as it's flying, then they'll start talking to each other again. But it is quite the strangest thing. If there isn't a bird sound, you know that the hawk must be near, because otherwise you can always hear bird song in the little reserve. It is absolutely beautiful. So we are incredibly lucky with that. Now, Carol or Kathy, have you got any other bird stories you'd like to tell us?
I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Thinking. Well, if you think of anything along the way, always you can send messages to me through Help It Get Set Up, and then I'll get your messages. I've got some lovely photos that way for the upcycle gardening and for some of the birds as well. So I'm starting to make my collection of the different things that
so Sue, in the subject area, we just put attention to you, and they'll be forwarded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It'll be forwarded to me. You can either send it to, oopsie, let me just screen share again. I just want to do share again. Oh, yeah. What did I share? I shared the wrong thing. That wasn't very clever. It wasn't sharing. That's why it didn't go to sharing. It decided to leave me alone. You can also send it to Liz at Get Set Up. She will also, and she will put it into blogs as well. If you send her info about your different things in your garden, she creates blogs and puts them onto the website and so on. But they also pass them on to me. I get them with that, and if you've got put your email with it, then I can actually reply to you from directly as well. So that as you find more, you can send me more, which would be great.
Liz did a blog for me when I first started attending Get Set Ups in September of last year, I guess it was. And I had a stroke. I had a brain injury stroke. And so I had to relearn how to do everything. And I didn't know what I wanted, what I liked to do. And I didn't know, I forgot. I had my stroke May 20th of 2018. And when I had my stroke, I did not remember anything except my first name and how to swallow. So I had to relearn everything. And I would have people tell me things that I didn't know if it was true or not, and I still have my one friend, she tells me things all the time. And she's like, don't you remember when we were kids? And I'm like, I don't remember any of this, But I think sometimes she tells me things that's not true because I can't believe that some of the things like I remember when I was in high school. Now, mind you, it's probably been 49, 50 years ago, but I remember playing the flute. And she goes, oh, I don't remember you ever playing the flute. Okay, well, you didn't go to the same school I went to, so how would you know that? It's just like, I think you remember things different than I remember things. And yes, I'm not remembering everything, but I just think that she thinks I should remember what she remembers. I remember we were in and I love art. I started actually making wreaths after I had my stroke. It was kind of like a new thing that I wanted to do before the stroke, and I had all the materials to make it. I just never did it. And then I had the stroke and I didn't even know how to do it. So I just kind of self-taught myself. And then Liz wanted to, they were trying to persuade me to host a class, but I couldn't really I was still learning and remembering things and trying to remember how to do things and stuff. And I wasn't confident enough to be a host. And I still have, I don't want to say setbacks, but I still have it where I'm just not ready. I'm not all my knowledge, all my schooling, all my college and everything. I don't recall any of that. I probably have maybe a 4th grade level math. I know that I was a number person. I know that I still love numbers. Anything to do with numbers. I love plants. I love birds. I love animals. I'm allergic to cats. So I don't do cats. But and I don't own any animals anymore because I don't have the ability to, I live by myself and I don't have the ability always to take the dog out, or I don't have a fenced in yard anymore. I don't live in a very good neighborhood where my neighbors treat me properly, or I grew up in this house. Okay. And I've lived here off and on for 65 years. Now, I've lived here this last time almost 30 years. So I don't foresee me going anywhere. And I'm the second oldest person in the neighborhood that's lived in here. I've lived here the longest, but I'm the second oldest person that lives in my neighborhood. the other lady lives down the street, and she doesn't go out hardly at all. She just sits in her house all the time. I don't mind sitting in the house, but I'd rather sit out in my yard. And so, but I don't live in a neighborhood where, to me, like back in the 1950s and 60s, when I was a child, if you went out, you said hello to your neighbor, or you waved, or, said, how's your day, or something. People around here don't say nothing to nobody. They'll be outside, I'll say hi, and they just turn around and look at me like, are you talking to me? So I talk to my flowers, and I talk to the birds, and I talk to the squirrels, and I talk to the other things, and that's just the way I am. So, but yeah, I enjoy different things, but I thought that she told me she was going to post it on a Get Set Up site. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a whole site of blogs. I'll get the right, James will put it into the chat box for you, where you can find all the blogs, and you'll find your blog there.
Okay.
James will pop that into the chat box for you, and then you'll be able to do that. So definitely you'll be able to get it from there. Right. So some of my related classes are my upcycling, gardening time, and the fairy and gnome gardens. And then my boredom busters for seniors, my trivia quiz. This week's trivia quiz is the 60s. Every week it's something different. And then there are plenty of other classes that come and go along the way of mine. I will be sending you notes afterwards, just to say thank you, and to give you some new ideas or of other classes you might like to see. And if you'd like to, you can give us a feedback on whether you've enjoyed this class, what you thought of it, what could be added, things like that, so that we have a chance to be able to make it even better for you. Yeah, there we are. James has put it up for you. To do. And yes, I agree with you, James. Come and make new friends is a new one that we've just started. That started this morning. Carol Sue was in fact in that class, so there are lots of things. You can also invite a friend on the new link that they've attached, so that other people can come to the class with you, and you can chat about it afterwards. And anything you want to know or find out about, Help It Get Set Up is your first port of call. That will help you to do anything that you would like to do. So thank you both very much for being in class. It's been lovely meeting you, Kathy, and I hope to see you again in some of the other classes.
Yes, I enjoyed myself completely.
So did I.
I'm so glad.
Oh, that's awesome. And Carol Sue's a regular. She's often in my class. So
I actually was going to do that class of meeting friends this afternoone, but I took an arthritis class, and I thought, well, I better do this. And then I had a tele appointment that I had to do, I think about the same time you had the friend thing. And I thought, well, I better do this first. And so then I was trying to get some other scheduling on, and it wouldn't let me. And then I think her name was Nina. She had tried to help me, and she said, you need to go on either a laptop or a tablet to do what you want to do. And I said, well, I don't have either one of those. I just have my mobile device. And she's like, well, then I think you're going to have to wait until, like, one thing I wanted to do was like to schedule something for the 14th. And she said, I think you're going to have to wait until after the 7th to do it.
The following week.
Coming up to the 7th. And it wanted me to book it on the 7th. But I have a doctor's appointment on the 7th, and I don't want to book anything there. I wanted to go for the following week, but on my mobile device, I can't do that. I'll have to wait until like Tuesday.
And then be able to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's hope. But I really look forward to seeing you in some of the other classes. I'll be very happy to have you with me. And Carol Sue.
Hoping that I can get some pictures of these hummingbirds, because, they're so fast and they're so small, and I can see them from my kitchen window. But I don't know if I can. The problem with that is I have screens on my windows on the outside. And so when I see the picture, then you see the screens with it too. So I'm going to try and sit outside once I get my butterfly bush and that done. And I'm going to put the butterfly bush right underneath the hummingbird feeder so that maybe they will like that too. I have some other flowers in a basket that's nearby, and they went over today to look at those flowers, but I don't think that they like them as much. I think they are sweet williams and petunias, but I don't think that they like those as much as
possibly not as sweet, not as much nectar as they
yeah,
would
I don't know. I don't know about all those different flowers. I just go according to what I like. I don't think about what they like. So
oh, well, that's good.
About what they like.
Well, that's another thing you could do. You can have a look, you can do some research on that, and then find out which are the best plants to plant in your garden for them. And then you can have a section that is just for the hummingbirds. It can be the hummingbird
garden. I thought about that because I thought I have a big box downstairs. If you put cardboard down over grass, then it will fertilize, it'll eat away at the grass and it'll fertilize the ground. And you don't have to cultivate it. And so I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. I have a box downstairs, I'm pretty sure, a box lid from something. And I thought if I put that in the big area there on the other side of the garage, on the other side of the driveway where the hummingbird feeder is, I thought I could put that down, put the cardboard down, and it'll deteriorate the grass. It'll make the mulch and stuff really good. I mean, the ground soil and that really good for next spring. And then I can maybe put my butterfly bush in that area. And I thought about maybe, I don't know whether I want to do a concrete block kind of perimeter to block that off. I'd like to do either that, or I'd like to put some kind of little fencing up, but because she sprays poison, I thought, I would probably be better off to do the concrete block,
Concrete block, or you can also use old cool drink bottles filled with sand. They make a wonderful retaining wall.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Oh, well, come to the upcycling garden next week, and you'll see it in there. Yeah, definitely.
You'll give me all kinds of good ideas. I have many years ago, when I have a back injury, and that's where I became disabled, and I had a settlement money, and I had my yard. It used to have a foundation for a double car garage, and it was just concrete. So I had my cousin come over and take all that out and grade the yard down. And so I have a big blank grassy slate in the middle of my yard. I have my back flower bed is about 6 feet wide and it's 55 feet long.
Wow.
And yeah. And so, well, my hostas take up 30 feet of that. And I still have about 25 feet to clean out yet. And I was going to put wildflowers back there, but I haven't done that yet because I haven't gotten back there to clean it yet. And then I have a whole big yard. I mean, it probably has 80 feet, not 80, probably 74 feet of grass and 55 feet across. So it's all grass. So, wow. I mean, I have a lot of place to put it. I just have to figure out a way to put it to make it all look pretty.
Well, come to my upcycle garden class and you'll come up with some new ideas as well, Kathy.
I will do that.
Carol Sue's already put things in her garden from it. So, right. Oh, well, thank you both so much for being in class. I really enjoyed this class.
Fun, and I've learned so much.
Well, it's a pleasure. I love having you all in class. And thank you, James, again, for all your little bits in the side. It makes it so much better and so much easier for everybody to be able to see all those little tidbits that you add. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. I will now go and make some lunch before my next class. And I will, I'm doing a much later class, too late for you. This time it's called origami, where we're actually going to make boxes in class. It's a making class where we're doing it step by step. But next week it's much earlier. I think it's at 7 o'clock in the morning for me. So it's a lot because it's midday now. So it's a lot earlier for
ask
you.
you what time it is at your place.
It's midday.
Now.
It's midday.
See, and when I live Midwest, it's 11 o'clock at night, my time here.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
What,
getting ready for bed. But thank you so much for being in class.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a lovely evening. Bye.
Thank you.